The Great Discrepancy of Contemporary Ideas, by Boris Kriger. Introduction. Everywhere you look, you can find things that don't quite match up, details that contradict each other, and things that are simply inconsistent. This happens in everything from the natural world to human-made systems. The human mind has a tendency to try to overlook these mismatches so it can carry on without getting stuck. It's easier to live life this way, with a kind of business-as-usual approach. But when we stop and think deeply about these mismatches, they stick with us. We can't shake them off because they make us question things. They make us wonder if there's more to the world than what meets the eye. They challenge our understanding and make us ask difficult questions, pushing us to dig deeper and seek out the truth. Nothing is ever as simple as it first appears, and that's not just because we like to complicate things. It's just how the world works. Think about it, is there anything you can say is completely black or white? Hardly anything, right? That's because things aren't meant to be clear-cut. They have layers, depths, different perspectives. This might seem like a trick our minds are playing on us, but it's actually a survival technique that has evolved over time. In the past, our ancestors faced a lot of uncertainty. They had to deal with changing environments, sudden dangers, and unexpected situations. To survive, their minds developed the ability to handle uncertainty, to understand that things are complex and multifaceted. This ability has been passed down to us, and that's why nothing seems clear-cut to us. It's not an illusion, but a tool our minds use to help us navigate through life's complexities. Discrepancies and contradictions don't only pop up in the big, unsolved mysteries, like what happens after we die, whether God exists, or the nature of good and evil. They're right there in our everyday lives, in things as simple as how we choose to live our day-to-day or what we should aim for in life. For example, should we live for the moment or always plan for the future? Should we chase personal happiness or focus more on achieving success? These contradictions even seep into the core principles of our society. We highly value personal freedom, but we also expect everyone to follow certain rules for the sake of order. There's a constant tug of war between these opposing ideas, and that's what makes life so complex and intriguing. In our world, we often find ourselves torn between different ideas and values. One classic example is the struggle between individualism and collectivism. Should we prioritize personal freedom and ambition, or should we emphasize community and teamwork? Then there's democracy, which is praised as the ideal form of government, but in reality, it often falls short, leaving many people feeling unheard or marginalized. Similarly, capitalism promises wealth and prosperity, while socialism offers fairness and equality, but both have their flaws and neither seems to completely satisfy everyone's needs. Then there's the ongoing debate between science and religion. Can faith coexist with empirical evidence, or must we choose one over the other? Globalization promises to connect us all, but it also seems to deepen divisions between the haves and the have-nots. Even the environmental movement, which stresses the urgent need to protect our planet, is often met with inaction or resistance. And finally, technology presents a dichotomy. Is it our savior, providing solutions to our problems, or could it be our downfall, creating new problems of its own? These are some of the many contradictions that pervade our contemporary world. Contradictions seem to be everywhere in our world, don't they? But have you ever wondered if the world could exist without them? Or are they just a trick our minds play on us? Maybe it's the idea of perfect harmony that's the real illusion. Perhaps both are illusions. Life is full of contrasts, good and bad, joy and sorrow, love and hate. We often think these contrasts are contradictions, but maybe they're just different sides of the same coin. Maybe they're necessary, adding depth and richness to our experiences. The world without contrasts might be bland and monotonous. So, it could be that neither contradictions nor harmony are illusions, but rather, they're different aspects of our complex world that our minds try to understand and navigate. Maybe the trick is to accept and find balance in these contrasts, instead of viewing them as contradictions. You know, it's possible that when we try to explain away the world's contradictions, we're really just acting like victims of a sort of Stockholm syndrome, where we've come to identify with and even defend the very complexity of existence that often seems to confound us. It's like we've been hostages to a reality full of inconsistencies for so long that we've started to see them as normal, even comforting. It's easier to accept the contradictions as an inherent part of life rather than constantly questioning and challenging them. We might even go so far as to say that we couldn't imagine a world without these contradictions, that our existence somehow wouldn't be as rich or meaningful without them. But is this simply us making peace with the complexities of life, or are we justifying the contradictions because we've grown so accustomed to them? There's a lot of contradictions out there in the world that we all know about. They're the big ones that get talked about a lot, like the rich getting richer while the poor stay poor, or how we all want peace but seem to always end up at war. But what about all the other contradictions that don't get as much attention? There's plenty of them around, hiding in plain sight in our day-to-day lives. But we often ignore them, maybe because they're too uncomfortable to deal with, or maybe because we just don't notice them. That's why critical thinking is so important. It helps us spot these overlooked contradictions. It encourages us to question things, to dig deeper, to not just accept things at face value. Only by examining these hidden contradictions can we hope to understand them better and perhaps find ways to address them. Humankind seems to be stuck in a world of pretense, where a lot of what we do is just for show. It's as if we're trying to convince ourselves that we can make a difference, that we can change things. But in most cases, things just keep moving along in their own way, nothing more. Despite this, we sincerely believe in our own performance. We put on a show of control and influence, perhaps because it makes us feel powerful or important. But deep down, we might know that much of life is out of our hands. Recognizing this might not be comfortable, but it can also be liberating. It can free us to focus on the things we can genuinely impact, rather than getting lost in a spectacle of our own making.